They were idealistic and young, all motivated environmentalists from the Pacific Northwest, hoping to stop development in America's pristine places. But their protest didn't stop anything. So Jake Ferguson and a group called The Family went radical.
Maybe you do an arson fire and you burn down a truck and you're like, well, that wasn't good enough, I want to go from there. So then you do a building. Then you're doing 2 buildings, then you're doing multiple buildings in different states, and it just kept getting more and more and more. You never want to backtrack and do something smaller.
It did start small, beginning with a dare to burn down the Detroit, Oregon Ranger Station. It was 1996.
I just kind of on a whim spray painted ELF on the building and on some vehicles at the Detroit Ranger Station, and I think that was the first time like an ELF action had happened in North America.
ELF, Earth Liberation Front, a secretive group. Fear of their attacks grew across 7 western states. Living in warehouses, communicating by code, the 6 or 7 hardcore members of The Family would develop target after target, always bigger, always bolder.
Were you surprised at what you were able to pull off?
Yeah.
Scary surprised?
It's a lot scarier when I think about it, because there are a lot of times where the incendiary devices that we were transporting could have gone off in the van we were in, or there were a couple times when we were setting them up that they almost went off right in our faces.
They were destroying entire car lots of SUVs, building incendiary devices, paranoid they were being watched.
We, were as safe as possible, not leaving prints. We would wrap up everything in garbage bags. We'd get rid of all our clothes.
Living like a fugitive, he planned an attack still regarded as the most spectacular of his movement. In October 1998, Ferguson carried jugs of inflammable liquid up Vail's ski mountain, part of the family's biggest and most destructive acts.
For the movement's sake, Vail was the trophy.
Damages exceeding $12 million, but it was also the beginning of the end for the family itself.
What broke things up was that they were starting to catch on to us.
The FBI was hunting them and had his van. Ferguson didn't know it, but his friends had used that van in an attack, and police traced it back to him. It was the one break they needed. Ferguson was called in by the FBI and caught in a lie. He was given just 2 options: turn on his friends or spend the rest of his life in prison.
I had to do whatever they wanted, and it wasn't something I felt good about, getting people to confess by wearing a wire.
Kirk Engdahl was the assistant U.S. attorney at the forefront of the task force, tracking down the ELF.
His evidence that he provided tore apart the family, correct? Brought it down.
It was essential. It was absolutely essential in our investigation to find out who the perpetrators were and to approach them, make our arrests, get our indictments. So you're right. He was essential.
At the time, were you considering yourself, hey, this is a terror cell?
I think pretty much, yeah, we considered ourselves being at war, with the government.
Ferguson escaped with just 1 felony count and 5 years on parole, and a fresh perspective on the damage he planned.
There are a minority of people that feel that their views should be imposed on everybody, and it's full of a lot of propaganda, and they feel like they're right and everything's wrong.
Still, there's been at least 1 new ELF attack. Just this month, the ELF took responsibility for toppling 2 radio towers in Seattle. Ferguson says looking back, he did more harm than good for the environmental movement, and calls current attempts to rekindle the ELF terrorism misguided. Drew Griffin, CNN, Eugene, Oregon.